He puts it to use. He puts it to what it was made for. And that's important for us because that's how God created us. That's how God designed us. To put our faith and our life to use and in action. And not only for ourselves, but for others. Not just for ourselves, but for others. Not just to keep it to ourselves. Louis Pasteur one time made a statement. He said, "Say to yourselves first, what have I done for my instruction?" In other words, what have I done for my own learning and ability? And then you gradually advance. And then you ask, what have I done for my country? Until at last, you may have the immense happiness of thinking that you have contributed some way to the progress and to the good of humanity. That's the idea. Life is too precious just to live for ourselves. It's to live for one another. And in the process of aiming for that goal, of having a direction in our life, we find that final goal in God's presence when He simply says, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And I don't think those are words we need to wait until we die to hear. I think those are words that we carry with us even in this life. As we take our talents and we use them for one another, to build one another and strengthen one another, because then we find even our own lives are nourished and strengthened through who we are by the actions of our life and going toward that goal of discovering our gifts and talents and then using those gifts and talents and sharing them. It's kind of like the parable of the master carpenter's tools. One day the master carpenter's tools were having a little conference. And so Brother Hammer presided over everything, but several suggestions were made that he should leave the meeting. They said that Brother Hammer should leave the meeting because he's just too noisy. He's always making noise, and he needs to leave. And Brother Hammer said, "Well, that's okay. If I have to leave this shop, understand, Brother Screw has to leave with me, because you have to turn him around again and again and again and again to get him to accomplish anything." And Brother Screw says, "Well, that's okay if you want, I'll leave. But Brother Plain has to go with me. Because you see, he's always just working on the surface. He's real shallow in what he does. His efforts just don't have any depth. So Brother Plain has to go." And Brother Plain responds, says, "That's fine, but Brother Ruler is going to have to go also. He's always measuring folks as though he were the only one who is right. And so he has to go too." And Brother Ruler said, "Well, that's fine, but Brother Sandpaper has to go also. He has to leave because he's rough and he's always rubbing people the wrong way. You know, he's just rubbing them the wrong way and they're always angry. He has to leave too." And in the midst of all this discussion, in walks the carpenter of Nazareth. He puts the apron on, goes to his tool bench, and he begins working. He begins working on a pulpit from which he can proclaim the gospel. And in that process, he uses Brother Hammer and Brother Screw and Brother Plain and Brother Ruler and Brother Sandpaper and all the other tools in that process. When that work is done and that pulpit is finished, Brother Saul rose up and simply said, "Brothers, I observe that all of us are workers together with the Lord." All of us are workers together with the Lord. That's a message for all of us. No matter what those talents may be, no matter who we are all called to be fellow workers with the Lord. And when we do that, we begin to see clearly the goal that is before us. And with Paul, our lives are no longer aimless. Let's pray. Gracious and everlasting God, we thank you this day as we offer ourselves in your presence. We thank you for your grace and for your love. We thank you for the gifts and the talents that you've given to us. And we know that in this world there are so many things that pull us in so many directions. Sometimes we're just not sure where we're headed. But we ask that in your grace and in your strength, we can understand the goal that is before us. That we can understand that you've given us gifts and talents and passions. Enable us to go through a process of discovering those. And not just discovering them, but using them. And not just for ourselves, but for others. We do this out of your creation in us, asking that we can truly continue to work together, knowing that we are fellow workers with you. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.